Caslin, who is going to give us an overview with regards to the Geoscience Sustainability Atlas. Now, she also has some partners in crime in the best possible way with her here today in the form of Maria and Denise. But Emer, I'm reliably informed that you are very much in charge of this first section of your presentation. So everybody, please put your hands together for the wonderful Emer. Round of applause.
Great, thanks a million, Sarah. Really appreciate being invited to this session, and it's kind of a bit of a here's for something slightly different. So really what we want to share here is an initiative that we've been working on. So there's a number of us here. I'm representing my co-authors in this case, and it's what we're doing is creating a sustainability atlas for geoscience. So really focusing on the discipline of geoscience, you know, where mining obviously feeds into, but multiple other sectors really feed into too. So what we want to really assess, I suppose, is, and to reflect on, and what we've been doing a lot is reflecting on the value proposition of our discipline of geoscience. And I like this image from Maria, and it's around, you know, that our narrative does start well, you know, and I think we're a very popular discipline, particularly when it comes to preschool and, you know, primary school children. I think if we could do our recruiting at that level, we'd have a really healthy pipeline, but that's not the case. And I think we've kind of realized that there's a need really to heighten this value proposition of what it is we do as a discipline, you know, and look at ourselves in terms of what our perception is to society. Our perception's great internally, but what about to society? And, you know, in some cases, it's seeing that we're a contributor to the climate and biodiversity crisis with our strong associations with the extractive industry, oil and gas and mineral extraction. And the perception out there, and this is what we're combating at this, this conference, which is great to hear, but there is a perception that that's not very much aligned with current environmental narratives. You know, the queries around what contribution we make to the economy, environment and society is not necessarily well appreciated. And I think even if we disagree with these, the numbers are very clear in terms of the reputation of the science is and the kind of reduced reputation is reflected in declining enrollment numbers in universities, and that's very much across the board globally. So it's really important that we reboot the subject, and there's lots of initiatives out there to do that. And again, I think conferences like this are hugely important in that respect as well. But yeah, I think we have an understanding, we have a holistic understanding of the earth through time, the processes that shape our planet, how they are interrelated, and how we can actually mitigate, how we can adapt to the impacts of climate and environmental change. We're a huge player when it comes to sustainability, and we really need to promote the value of geoscience. We need to safeguard the subject, and we really need to ensure that it has a place at the sustainability table. I know at COP26, I think Sarah had mentioned as well, the underrepresentation there of our discipline. So this really needs to be kind of addressed. So a number of years ago, I think it was 2020, Maria Angela Capella, who's on the call as well, and Anna Shaughnessy approached me as well, and we combined together to address this. We thought the obvious way to go would be to look at the blueprint of sustainability out there, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we took on the challenge to map, in this case it was geophysics, to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we looked at all 17 of the goals. We looked at all sectors, all kind of subdisciplines of geophysics, and spent a while putting our heads together and coming up with a map of geophysics to the Sustainable Development Goals, looking at things like water resource management, geohazards, energy in all of its forms, decarbonisation, initiatives that geoscientists are involved in, and tried to promote this and to describe this to geoscientists, but also to kind of the society at large. So it was a really successful, it was hard work, but it was a hugely successful initiative, and we had great kind of reception of it. You know, it was published in multiple publications, The Leading Edge and GeoExpro and Oil Woman. It was also translated into multiple languages, including Swahili and Serbian. And it was used a lot by universities. We were contacted by a number of universities who wanted to use this wheel in particular that we created to actually promote the geoscience subject, geophysics in particular, to prospective students. I think we all have different takeaways from it, but for me, what was really encouraging was to actually be contacted by multiple local sustainability initiatives run by geoscientists that wanted to actually tie back to this kind of overarching SDG strategy. So really, really positive outcomes from it. And I think we needed to think, and particularly with Maria at the helm, what the next steps are. We're not finished with this project, and how can we actually go further with this? And I think the obvious step there was to actually extend it to all geosciences. People were impressed with what we've done, but actually questioned why geophysics, you know, why do we limit it at geophysics? What about the other geosciences, geochemistry, paleontology, etc.? So that's what we wanted to do as well, was to incorporate all geosciences for it. We also wanted to make sure that the next publication and the next kind of project very much reflected a broad cross-section of sectors, of kind of geoscience subdisciplines, and also of a good global representation. You know, we wanted to make sure that this was as reflective as possible of geoscientists out there. So we partnered together. So we have I think about 11 or 12 people on the author list here, and I think that was the first SDG that we tackled, which is around partnerships and actually uniting several different geoscience disciplines together, and including on the panel here Ludwig Wolters, who is a friend of geoscience, as she said, and it was excellent to have, and it's been excellent to have her insights from a policy and legislation point of view to actually steer and to curate the best possible atlas that we could get. So yeah, very much what we want to do is to raise the awareness about the role that geoscience has to society at large, to elevate the understanding amongst geoscientists, but also to people outside about how we can actually advance and move the dial in the for all 17 of the SDGs, and establish a communication platform. And that's very much what it's done. We have not published it yet, but even the activity that we've done so far has really caused great back and forth communication with the geoscience public out there. So that's been great. Just in terms of the kind of, you know, how the we've defined, I suppose, the SDGs. We decided to kind of categorize them according to the three dimensions: people, planet, and prosperity. This tends to be a better way of kind of measuring progress of these SDGs, but also it kind of highlights the intertwined framework that the SDGs are, instead of kind of silos. And for us as well, it was important to group them like this, so we could actually highlight kind of commonalities between the various different sectors and the various different SDGs as well, and highlight the potential for cross learnings. You know, so for example, if we talk about the prosperity dimension, we may talk about mining here and the cross learnings that we have for mining and the energy sector, you know, from critical mineral exploration and the importance of, you know, better communication there. But I think as well as that, you know, the mining kind of, and the ESG and the risk and communications and public perception challenges that lots of the geoscience sectors are facing, but also there's a lot of cross learnings that we can share there between the various different sectors. So yeah, it's been what we wanted this atlas to be as well, is very much examples coming from the ground. In the first version, we kind of talked in theory about how geoscience, how geophysics actually contributes to the SDGs, but it was important at this stage as well, because we had so many voices on the ground that wanted to be involved, for people to be able to actually submit their examples of where they saw in their particular geoscience sector or research area the advancement of one or two of the SDGs. So we have things like water crisis in Delhi, we've got tsunami risks and all other geohazard examples. We've got as well an example on the kind of near surface geophysics around mapping of mass graves, you know, in Poland, Lithuania and Europe. We've got kind of some of the more softer skills needed for geoscientists for equity, diversity and inclusion in geoscience, and gender equality as well. But yeah, also decarbonisation. We've got some mining examples from Africa, you know, where we're looking at things like policy and legislation. We're looking at how geoscientists can advance or help around the artisanal mining and conflict minerals, and making sure that there's a degree of accountability from geoscientists outside of the hard science as well, or just at least shining a spotlight on that. So yeah, we're communicating our progress a lot. So we've got lots of, we've been inundated with examples, lots of reactions on social media about this. So a huge amount of enthusiasm there. We are still looking for photographs, great photographs of people working in the mineral sector in particular on the towards sustainability. So anything people have out there would be great. And yeah, just in terms of our publication aims, we really want this to be something that's not, you know, that there's open access, and it's open to all. We want it to be an inclusive platform for geoscience, that it's not necessarily tied to one particular sector. You know, we want to unite our geoscientists there and show it as a stripped backed kind of discipline. And also, yeah, we've got endorsement from UNESCO here, which has been great. You know, I think this is helping with putting our discipline on the sustainability table with other science disciplines. So yeah, simple language is really important. We want it to be, we're targeting it towards experts as well as society at large. Yeah, so really this is an atlas for geoscience and geoscientists, but also for future geoscientists. And this is just our new wheel, updated wheel, hot off the press, Ludovine. So yeah, any questions that you have, we'd be delighted to take, and I'm delighted to have some of our other co-authors online.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emer. It's truly brilliant what you guys are putting together. Massive round of applause. Yeah, exactly there. Fantastic. So I think what would be brilliant actually is if we bring Maria and Denise into the discussion. Also, just whilst they're finding those unmute buttons into the chat, I've put some additional resources which I think are very in line with perhaps some of what you were talking about. One of which is this book that Joel came and talked about last year. So I'm actually quite proud that I happen to have it to hand.
Brilliant.
So talking about geoscience and the SDGs. There's also a link to the video that was put together by Ian Stewart and a whole load of other people, a UNESCO sponsored video saying, okay, what do we think the future of geoscience is? And then of course the conference last week that was run by the Geological Society that looked at the role of geoscience in energy transition, and quite a lot of the discussion, especially when we were discussing things online, turned to, okay, well, hang on a second, as geoscientists, how do we get more people coming into the profession? How do we get them comfortable with regards to mining, and also creative enough to work out how do we step change this to actually, well, actually in line with everything we've been speaking about this week, how do we change the business model? How do we make all of this better? So awesome. Thank you, Emer. Do you want to bring in Maria and Denise?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. So there's Maria, Denise, and also Ludovine. You can unmute as well.
Ludovine's been there going, no, leave me in the background.
Absolutely not. It's great to have kind of, she's calling herself a non-geoscientist, but I'm not quite so sure after the number of months you've been spent on this this project.
So I think with that, Maria, do you have any comments to add to what Emer has said? I mean, massive congratulations with regards to what you've put together here. It's truly phenomenal. So any comments from yourself, and then we'll go to Denise.
Well, thank you. I think that perhaps the most important comment will be that we want this to be a platform of understanding and communication. And hopefully we will be able to have and build a platform of motivation. We need to increment that kind of self-awareness of our pivotal role in what we do for sustainability as geoscientists. And I always say, we have that kind of perspective vision of the earth, perspective vision of the time. It's not trivial that other peoples call our time geologic time because it's outside human comprehension, right? So this is why we have that kind of perspective, which is privilege as geoscientists, that resources for the human timeline may be finite. So how to use them and how to responsible take a part of that is what we want to communicate. Thank you. Emer did a wonderful job explaining, so no need for more.
There's a lot to say.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got to respect those rocks, haven't we? Denise, what do you want to say? And then I will come to Ludovine.
I want to address the importance of this from the angle of what is out there assaulting our population. We are being raised in an atmosphere of fear about all things pertaining to the earth, the atmosphere, and change. This atlas is one of the most important things we can do as geoscientists, because we can communicate how we can meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs, the definition of sustainability, right? So I would say this to everyone listening: the geoscientists are the people, the essential workers, if you will, of developing energy. We are the superheroes that can come up with the solutions and the way to do what we know how to do, but do it better, do it in balance with economic, environmental, and social awareness. So a pretty simple message, very important works that everyone, this whole team is working on.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Denise. So as we know, the geoscientists are the superheroes, but the lawyers are pretty good as well, aren't they, Ludovine?
Yes, but I just want to say what I find so important about this project is that we have a need of smart policy, good governance more than ever. We need to go so fast and achieve so much. And unfortunately, a lot of these topics are very emotional, very politicized, and frankly, very complex. The scientists need to be at the center of the debate. And I'm not sure that they are often enough, or, you know, in every aspect of where we need their input. And I think for disciplines as central to these debates as geosciences, we should be reaching out to them, but I'm deeply grateful that they're reaching out to all of us and explaining what they do, explaining what they're seeing, and bringing us into a more holistic view of what can and should be done. So actually my gratitude goes to the geosciences today.
Thanks, Ludovine. So I think, I mean, with this as well, and we had a good chat about this earlier on today, where actually a lot of this is about leveraging one another's strengths and also listening to one another, working together, challenging one another. So we can say, okay, I'm a geoscientist, you're a chemist. How do we work together to make this whole system better? And actually everybody bringing their own backgrounds, their own expertise to the table. Now, Denise, there is a question for you in the Q&A, which I'll maybe let you answer in that online forum, if I may. But Emer, perhaps coming back to yourself, because I know that you're not able to stick around for the panel at the end of today's session. Firstly, and this is on behalf of not just Pauline, but to all of us, when can we get hold of that beautiful graphic that you guys have put together? Basically, yes, so that is the main question. When can we get it? Because we
talked about geological time, didn't we? Yeah, Maria probably knows better on that, but I think, I mean, yeah, soon, very soon. It's work in progress, but it's very, we're near completion. It's like a piece of string in terms of when do you finish. There's so many examples coming in, submissions coming in for people wanting to get involved, that it's actually hard to draw a line. And I don't think we want to draw a line. I think we would like this to be something live going forward. But yeah. I think, I think if you have a word with Ludovine regarding the wheel itself, but you have access to the geophysics one anyway.
Okay, yeah, but we want the rest of it as well, because we're really.
I'm a geologist.
I know. I'm sure that you guys are already looking at this, but would it be worth kind of saying, right, here is phase one or something, so here we're at the moment, but everybody then a kind of co-creation type model, so everybody can then pile in and add their own bits into it, and then you almost have version 1, version 2, or volume 1, volume 2? You start building your confidence in that atlas.
That is a fantastic idea and recommendation. We are now looking into having it published very soon, and several organizations like AGU and UNESCO have come forward, and particularly AAPG Foundation, in terms of providing also perhaps some sorts of funds in order to make it happen. Once it is published, we also are thinking about having some sort of a website in order to host the examples and perhaps future collaborations that people would be willing to provide, because we want this to be a living document that at a certain point we want to close and share, to then perhaps initiate those kind of initiatives that you are mentioning, Sarah, which are so important, to have it an evergreen kind of receptacle of information and examples.
Fantastic. And I love it. Pauline is on fire in the chat at the moment. She's suggesting not only that everyone should get a free dinosaur with their copy, which, you know, provided that dinosaur is sustainably sourced, and we need to think about that, because yeah, we need to think about those dinosaurs. And then also as well, so Ruth, who is incoming president to the Geological Society here in the UK, actually making sure that it goes out with the membership packs to all of the different fellows, for example. So stuff like that, which I'm sure everyone would love to jump on board with. So with that, again, a massive congratulations to what you guys are putting together there, be it waiting with geological time scales in mind or not. We're really looking forward to getting hold of your material, because I'm sure it's going to be used very, 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 very quickly by lots of organizations who are trying to promote the same message as well. So awesome. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. And it will be here soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's fantastic.